For most of human history, war followed rules everyone understood. Armies marched in lines, fortresses promised safety, courage meant standing your ground, victory depended on discipline, numbers, and nerve. Then, without warning, the rules collapsed. A weapon appears, quiet at first, underestimated, sometimes mocked. Commanders cling to old doctrines, convinced tradition will protect them. It never does. Within weeks, entire strategies unravel. Fortresses become death traps. Cavalry charges turn into massacres. Fleets vanish in minutes. The battlefield no longer rewards bravery. It punishes it. Every era has its breaking point. A moment when technology moves faster than imagination, when those who adapt survive, and those who don't become footnotes in history. This is not a story about weapons alone. It is the story of how war keeps reinventing itself, and how every reinvention leaves behind the ruins of once unstoppable tactics. These are the weapons that didn't just win wars, they made the old way of fighting impossible. For centuries, the armored knight dominated European warfare. Encased in steel, trained from childhood, mounted on powerful horses, they were symbols of military superiority and social order. Battles were decided by charges, thunderous, terrifying, and usually unstoppable. Then came the longbow. Unlike the crossbow, the English longbow demanded years of training, but once mastered, it could fire 6 arrows a minute with enough force to punch through armor at close range. At Crecy in 1346, and later at Agincourt, French knights charged with absolute confidence. They believed courage and steel would carry the day. Instead, the sky darkened. Arrows fell like rain, horses collapsed, knights drowned in mud under the weight of their own armor. The battlefield became a killing field, where nobility died beside commoners, not in heroic duels, but helpless and anonymous. The longbow didn't just defeat knights, it destroyed the idea that elite warriors could dominate through tradition alone. A trained peasant with a bow could kill a noble who had spent a lifetime preparing for war. Military tactics had to change. Heavy cavalry declined, infantry formations gained importance, discipline and logistics mattered more than lineage. The longbow marked a brutal lesson that would echo through history. When technology shifts, honor does not protect you. Adaptation does. For medieval commanders, castles were the ultimate defense. Thick stone walls, narrow gates, and towering keeps made fortresses nearly impregnable. Sieges could last months, even years. Attackers starved before defenders surrendered. Gunpowder ended that certainty. Cannons appeared slowly, clumsy and unreliable at first. Many dismissed them as novelties, loud, inaccurate, and expensive. But once their potential was understood, the balance of power shifted rapidly. Stone walls that had resisted ladders and battering rams for centuries crumbled under sustained artillery fire. A fortress no longer guaranteed safety. It became a trap. Defenders packed behind walls were now perfect targets. Entire military doctrines collapsed. Feudal lords who relied on castles lost their advantage. States centralized power, building professional armies and standardized artillery units. Fortifications adapted, lowering walls and reshaping them into angled bastions. But the age of medieval warfare was over. Gunpowder changed more than architecture. It erased the personal nature of combat. You no longer needed strength, skill or status to kill. You needed powder, shot, and range. War became louder, faster, and impersonal. And for the first time, the industrial capacity of a nation mattered as much as the bravery of its soldiers. At the dawn of the 20th century, generals still believed in momentum. Infantry advanced in lines, cavalry charged with sabers drawn. Courage, they insisted, could overcome firepower. The machine gun proved them catastrophically wrong. During World War I, weapons like the Maxim gun could fire hundreds of rounds per minute without overheating. A handful of defenders could annihilate entire battalions in seconds. Fields became slaughterhouses, trenches filled with the dead. Old tactics didn't fail gradually, they collapsed instantly. Commanders who sent soldiers over the top watched entire units vanish before reaching enemy lines. Heroism meant nothing against sustained automatic fire. War slowed into stalemate, grinding down nations through attrition rather than maneuver. The machine gun forced the invention of new tactics: infiltration units, combined arms warfare, tanks, and air support. It reshaped the battlefield into a system where survival depended on coordination, not bravery. It also changed how societies understood war. No longer glorious, no longer swift, modern warfare became a factory of death. The lesson was unmistakable. When firepower outpaces doctrine, doctrine must change, or men will die proving it. For decades, battleships ruled the seas. Massive guns, thick armor, and imposing silhouettes defined naval power. Nations measured their strength in tonnage and caliber. Then, on December 7, 1941, the illusion shattered. Japanese aircraft launched from carriers struck Pearl Harbor, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet without a single battleship engagement. The message was brutal and clear. Naval warfare had changed overnight. Carriers transformed oceans into three-dimensional battlefields. Distance no longer mattered. The most powerful ship was not the one with the biggest guns, but the one that could project air power hundreds of miles away. Battles like Midway proved that fleets could destroy each other without ever coming into visual range. Battleships became escorts. Air wings became decisive. Naval doctrine adapted quickly or disappeared. Countries that clung to battleship supremacy paid the price. The carrier didn't just replace the battleship, it redefined naval strategy, power projection, and global influence. Control of the seas now meant control of the sky above them. In earlier wars, victory came from numbers. Large formations, massed armor, and overwhelming force dominated planning. Precision-guided weapons ended that logic. Modern missiles, drones, and smart munitions can strike with pinpoint accuracy from hundreds or thousands of kilometers away. Command centers, radar stations, and armored columns can be destroyed before the enemy even realizes they've been detected. Mass formations became liabilities. Visibility meant vulnerability. Wars in the late 20th and early 21st centuries showed that information, surveillance, and precision matter more than sheer size. Smaller forces, properly equipped and networked, could defeat larger armies. This shift forced militaries to rethink everything: mobility, concealment, cyber warfare, and electronic dominance. The battlefield expanded into space, data networks, and invisible signals. War became less about occupation and more about disruption, less about destruction and more about control. The age of mass warfare gave way to the age of precision conflict. Every generation believes it has mastered war, until the next weapon proves otherwise. Time and again, history shows the same pattern. Technology advances faster than human thinking. Armies prepare for the last war, not the next one, and the cost of that delay is measured in lives. These weapons didn't just change how wars were fought, they exposed the danger of certainty. They punished those who believed tradition was invincible. And the lesson remains unresolved. Because somewhere, right now, a new weapon is being tested, quietly, secretly, waiting to make today's tactics just as obsolete as knights, castles, and battleships. War never stops evolving. The question is, will we understand it before it demands another lesson written in blood?